I got a good spawn. Oh my goodness! It's the super rare ender portal! No way!
I am pretty sure I found the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns because the speedrunners are absolutely terrible at hiding the fact that they're literally cheating. This first speedrun starts right next to a village as we can see what appears to be a blacksmith right next to them. They begin to head towards the village and they enter this first house. But watch carefully for what happens whenever they open this chest. As we can see, they looted the chest, giving them some bread, some saplings, an apple, and even a book. So how do they have 3 ink sacs? Well, if we rewind the footage, we can see another player's arm through this window, and this person drops the speedrunner the ink sacs. But I'm confused why the speedrunner even needs ink sacs to begin with. Well, they leave this house and begin going towards the blacksmith. And before they open the chest, this is where things get very, very weird. Because inside of the chest is so many diamonds. So they take everything out of the chest and leave the blacksmith. They find some hay bales and begin taking all of the hay bales. Once they're finished doing that, they begin to enter another house. But wait, if we rewind the footage, we can see that this house door was already open, which typically never happens because villagers always close the door behind them, which means the speedrunner must have left this door open on accident. Once they're inside the house, they look at the roof, and out of nowhere, they're in a crafting table, which is genuinely just confusing. But the speedrunner turns the hay bales into wheat, and the wheat into bread. They then use their diamonds to make themselves basically full diamond armor except for a helmet. They put on the diamond armor and leave the house. And instead of exploring more of the village, the speedrunner begins to leave the village. They begin walking down this river until they see a ruined portal in front of them. But once again, if we rewind the footage, we can see that for some reason there is just a breeze sitting here, which is actually a mob in the newest update. And they don't just randomly spawn above ground like this, because they can only spawn in end cities, which makes the fact of this breeze being here very, very confusing. Well, they completely ignore it and just head towards the ruined portal. They open the chest and find a god apple, which, don't get me wrong, it is possible. It is just extremely rare. They take the rest of the loot inside the chest as well. They then just look at the ruined portal, then turn around, then turn back around, and the portal is suddenly fixed, which I have a weird suspicion could have been that player that we saw earlier. The speedrunner then goes through the portal, and once they're in the nether, they begin mining a tree. And everything seems normal at first until they suddenly get dropped some blaze rods. But it doesn't stop there, because they also get dropped some ender pearls as well, which once again I believe is the player that we saw earlier. They then access their inventory and turn their blaze rods into blaze power to make themselves some eyes of ender. Now that they have eyes of ender, they go back into the portal to go into the overworld. Now instead of throwing their ender eyes like a normal speedrunner would, they begin randomly walking around until they find a random hole which they go inside of, and what the heck? This is the most random stuff I have ever seen, where the speedrunner just places in the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they just walk around normally until some arrows and a bow randomly fall from the sky. Now that the speedrunner has a bow and arrow, they can break all of the end crystals. But the speedrunner is shooting like 2 feet in front of them, but the end crystals are somehow breaking. And they do this over and over again until eventually all of the end crystals break. And if you thought these shenanigans would stop there, you're completely wrong, because they do this against the ender dragon as well, constantly shooting 2 blocks in front of them, but the ender dragon is somehow taking damage. And eventually the ender dragon dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. This speedrun starts pretty normal until we can see the speedrunner's friend inside chat. But whenever you speedrun, you're only allowed to speedrun by yourself, which means this speedrun is probably going to be fake. The speedrunner's friend mines a tree, but it took them 0.8 seconds to mine it, when trees typically take 1 second to mine. So I think the speedrunner's friend has efficiency on their hand or something. Well, they make a wooden pickaxe and mine all day long. It's now nighttime, so a zombie begins attacking them, but the speedrunner's friend has a torch, so they survive. The speedrunner finds a village and begins trading with a villager, but the villager has some terrible trades. So the speedrunner tries to punch them, but an iron golem comes out of nowhere, and he is not happy. The speedrunner gets absolutely destroyed by the iron golem. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It is literally my dream to one day reach 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not even halfway there. So if you could help me get 1 step step closer towards my dream, that would genuinely make my entire day. This speedrun seems like it's pretty professional because they start with a timer in the top corner. But once they load in, they start in their 4th hotbar slot, which is an immediate sign that the speedrun could be fake because you always start in your 1st hotbar slot. Where the speedrunner turns around and finds a pyramid. They break some dead bushes on their way towards the pyramid, ultimately giving them 8 sticks. Well, they enter the pyramid and break a block, and once the block breaks, they land down below. They open the first chest, which has normal loot. They take the gold and a sand block and open the next chest, which also has normal loot. They open the 3rd chest, which also has normal loot, but there is also a diamond, which is a pretty lucky thing to get out of a pyramid chest. But as soon as they get the diamond, we can see inside chat that they got the achievement diamonds, which means if they did indeed go inside a creative and place this diamond inside there, they would have already gotten the achievement beforehand. So that means that they never placed the diamond inside this chest, and it's actually legit. But the speedrunner opens the next chest and finds some more diamonds. Not only that, but there's also a golden chest plate, and golden chest plates cannot naturally spawn inside of pyramid chests. So maybe the diamonds weren't fake, but the golden chest plate definitely is. The speedrunner takes the diamonds, some blocks, and the golden chest plate. They then use the blocks to build out of the pyramid. They then begin wandering in a random direction until they suddenly see a village on their left and a ruin portal on their right. But before they go to either one, they first mine a tree. They mine 3 logs and make themselves a crafting table. They then place down the crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They start heading towards the ruin portal, and once they're there, they look for a chest, but they cannot find it. So instead, they clear out the lava and begin mining the crying obsidian so they can actually form a portal. They mine 2 crying obsidian, and then they mine the corner block of the portal and place it at the top. They take the gold block, and they start digging around to try and find the chest. And eventually, they find it. But the chest only has 2 obsidian, and normally a ruin portal chest would have a lot more stuff than just 2 obsidian. Well, either way, they take the 2 obsidian and finish the portal, but they don't have a flint and steel. But they close your inventory and reopen it and find a flint and steel, which somehow even duplicates. So now they have 2. Now, if you were expecting me to explain how they somehow did that, I'm sorry, I have no idea how they did that. Well, they light the portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a pretty bad spawn. But that's when they suddenly start digging in the wall. They start by building a staircase up and eventually just start digging straight. They do this for a decent amount of time until they somehow find themselves inside of a bastion. And there's a lot of brutes coming for them. So they start by hitting their feet, and then they use their flint and steel to light all the brutes on fire. Eventually, they all die, and the speedrunner can now loot the chests, which have some normal loot other than the fact that there's some ender pearls inside of them, which is of course not normal loot. They take the ender pearls and some other loot as well, and then they loot the second chest, which also has ender pearls, giving them a total of 5 ender pearls. They then begin making their way back towards their tunnel, and they go back into the portal even though they don't have blaze rods. Once they're back in the overworld, they start running in the direction where they believe they saw the village from before. Eventually, they do find it, but they also find a weird sand path that goes across the lake right here, which is very obviously not naturally generated. The speedrunner does some very cool block placements, which makes me believe that they're actually good at speedrunning. So the fact that they're cheating is genuinely just confusing. They also do some weird bridging for literally no reason. I guess they're just trying to show off or something. Once they're in the village, they start by mining some hay bales, and they go around the village a little bit, and we can see tons and tons of iron golems. Even though each village inside of Minecraft usually only has 1 iron golem. The speedrunner suddenly mines a wall and opens a barrel to find 5 blaze powder, which is obviously fake. They take the 5 blaze powder and mine through a village's fence and into their grass just to find an end portal under their house, which of course is only missing 5 eyes of ender. So the speedrunner goes in their inventory and makes 5 eyes of ender and places in all the eyes to enter the end. Once they're in the end, there's already a hole for them to go up, so they place down blocks until they're at the top. And this part of the speed run is very, very weird because as we can see, there are tons of endermen, there's just no ender dragon. And instead of going in the portal, the speedrunner spams random blocks and then they go in the portal. And they finish with a time of 7 minutes and 43 seconds, giving them the new world record. If you like that video, you should probably watch this video as well because this video is even cooler.